Hearts of Iron 4 released June 6th, 2016. Next year, we'll be entering year 9 of this game. 9 years. 9 years without a sequel. To compare that with previous releases of the game, there was a 5-year gap between Hoi 3 and Hoi 4, and a 4-year gap between Hoi 2 and Hoi 3, and a 3-year gap between the original Hearts of Iron and Hearts of Iron 2. So even by the game's own standards, 9 years without a sequel's quite a bit. In fact, I remember when I first bought this game and I was considering buying DLC, I talked myself out of it because I thought to myself, certainly a Hearts of Iron 5 is going to come out any day now. But here's the simple truth. Hearts of Iron 5 is not coming out anytime soon, and it's rather simple to understand why. This has already been mentioned by other videos, but Hoi 4 is not dying, not in the least. In fact, this game has a higher player base right now than it basically ever has. In fact, shortly after Götterdämmerung came out, the game nearly had 100,000 people playing the game simultaneously at any given moment. For those keeping score, that's more than double the original player base of this game. And yeah, you see some peaks here when a new DLC comes out, and then it goes back down, but the overall trend line is up. Now, if you're old as me, you might remember looking at cans of Coca-Cola growing up, and they always said this, Coca-Cola Classic. What made Coca-Cola classic? Well, it's actually a funny story. You see, in the 1980s, Coca-Cola was worried about the competitor Pepsi and the success they were having in the market. Now, Coke was a fantastically popular product at the time, but still they felt like they had to innovate or else they were going to get behind the curve and lose a lot of business. Hence, they created this product you've probably never seen called New Coke. New Coke was advertised as a new and improved version of the original formula. To oversimplify things and make a long story short, New Coke was a disaster for the brand. Everyone hated it. And the reason they hated it wasn't necessarily because it tasted better or worse than the old Coke. In fact, when they were testing the New Coke recipe in blind taste tests, people preferred New Coke over old Coke.
Recently, an independent research firm ran a taste test between Coke and Pepsi, and the taste more people chose was the taste of Coca-Cola.
But the thing is, people were so used to the original recipe that that's all they wanted to drink. Hence, after a very short stint as New Coke, they reverted back to Coca-Cola Classic. And that's why the label says Classic. Okay, what does Coca-Cola have to do with Hoi 4? My point is, Paradox may very well be sitting on a finished copy of Hoi 5, and we just don't know it. But it makes no sense to release the game when Hearts of Iron 4 is performing this well. Let's just say Hearts of Iron 5 comes out and it is objectively a better game than Hoi 4. I'm willing to bet people wouldn't play it. Like New Coke before it, I bet the product sells fantastic for the first quarter, and then people realize they're so used to Hoi 4 dynamics that they really like, that even if Hoi 5 is better, people go back to playing Hoi 4. From a strictly business model, this is working. Why would you break a model that is working so well? In fact, the current model's working so well that they're actually moving now to 2 DLCs a year instead of 1. One for a country pack and one that introduces new features to the game. It is important to remember that Paradox, before they are a game developer, they are a business. So they will do what makes the most business sense. So long as people keep buying the game, so long as people keep playing the game, so long as people keep buying DLC, there is no incentive to release a Hearts of Iron 5, regardless how flawed Hearts of Iron 4 may be at times. It is a winning formula, and they're not going to mess that up. Let's compare Hoi 4's player base with a game with a yearly cyclical release like Call of Duty, and you can see clearly why there won't be a Hoi 5. So Q4 of 2022, Modern Warfare 2 releases, and it gets a big spike of a player base. You can see quickly, though, the game dies off, and it gets a fraction of the players it had before. This spike here, you can see that's Modern Warfare 3, which came out, which was a glorified expansion pack to Modern Warfare 2. Spike, and then a slow, steady decline. And then this spike here is Black Ops 6, people logging in to play the beta version. For Activision, it makes sense to keep releasing basically the same game year over year because they're chasing these spikes. There's a little bit of Battle Pass DLC stuff over here, but it really isn't the cash cow. It's these spikes here when a brand new game releases. Compare that with Hearts of Iron 4, and yes, there's the spike when the DLC releases, but overall, the trend line for people buying the base game continues to go up. The DLC accelerates the rate at which people purchase the game. If Paradox were to release Hearts of Iron 5, they would be jeopardizing this very successful business model. And I know what you might be thinking. You might be thinking, they can only do DLC so long. They can only add to the base game so much. And you, my friend, would be wrong. Remember what Götterdämmerung was. Götterdämmerung was a replacement of an already existing DLC. There was already a Hungary DLC. There was already a Germany DLC that added in all the alt history stuff. So according to this model and what they did with Götterdämmerung, we're just going to see them revamping old DLCs. Sure, there are some things about the game that are just so broken they would require a sequel to fix. But as long as people are struggling through that and still playing and coming back, there's no incentive to fix them. So what would it take for Hearts of Iron 5 to finally come out? Well, it'd take a few things. It would take you stop playing the game. It would take you stop buying the DLC. It would take you and your friends stop playing mods. It would take mod developers to stop updating the game for new versions of it to update their mods so people can keep playing the game. So long as you keep playing and purchasing, Hearts of Iron 5 will never come out. And I think you and I both know that's not going to happen anytime soon.